Hi students and family members, it's Mr. Panza. We have just wrapped up our Columbus and the Copycats unit, and we're ready for a project and quiz. In order to be successful on this project, I'm hoping you use this video to gather information and turn a blank sheet, a blank timeline into what you see here. This is an example of a completed timeline. This student used the research on the back of their paper to create complete sentences about what was going on at these specific time periods in history, and still so, some very specific dates that you see. Writing complete and neat sentences then leading to a graphic source that will show exactly what was going on in history at this time. Before we jump to the final product, which you see here, let's double back and look at what Mr. Panza is expecting through his rubric. This is a copy of the rubric for the timeline project. You can see there are three separate portions: the research, the timeline, and the graphic sources. The research and timeline are both out of 8 total points. The graphic source is out of 3. You can see that in each research and timeline section, there will be 7 pieces of information that will be checked for accuracy. If the students get 7 or 8 accurate, then they'll get a 7 or 8 in the research. 5 or 6, 5, 6, 3, 4, 0, 1, or 2. So depending on how many pieces of information on the research section are correct, that's how many points out of 8 they will earn. Let's take a look at the research page now. This is a view of your student's research page. It has years and it has page numbers. So we will be doing some of this at school in which the students will be encouraged to use the book. Now let's go to 1492. On page 97, they specifically explain that in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, giving the students a day off of school, I might add. At the same time, this is just research. If they put a bullet point down here and mention that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, they will receive full credit, even if it is not a complete sentence. If they do that for all 8 of these dates, they will receive all 8 of the points on the rubric. It's the same exact procedure for the timeline. The timeline portion of the project is looking for accurate and complete sentence information on the 8 different dates that can be looked up in your book. So if you get 7 or 8, you get 7 or 8 points. And just like the research, 5, 6, 3, 4, 0, 1, or 2. So if there was inaccurate research, chances are you're also going to lose points on the timeline unless you made the correction on one shot. Let's take a look at the timeline. The timeline itself doesn't look much different than the research. However, I'm expecting a little bit more. You're going to take these dates, like I said, for example, 1492 from page 97, and create a complete sentence. Yes, you can say, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but you may want to add, with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Or you could add, this was a trip funded by the King and Queen of Spain, just to make it a little bit more complete and correct. You must fill in this information on 8 of these lines, writing them vertically and making sure it's neat and, most importantly, accurate. This leads us to the graphic source. The graphic source portion of this project is quite simply pictures that represent and show exactly what you researched and exactly what you wrote down on the timeline. So you're going to have an appropriate picture that actually shows exactly what was going on during that time, and it should resemble either the best, better, or okay version. If it's either incomplete or doesn't resemble one of the next 3 pictures that I show you, then expect a 0. Now this part is only worth 3 points. However, you still want to spend a decent amount of time to make sure that your picture is accurately depicting what you wrote about and that it's aesthetically pleasing, meaning it looks nice. Let me show you some examples now. In these boxes at the top, whether it be vertically or horizontally, a picture must be represented with color and it must be accurate to what you wrote on the lines. Here is an okay version of what a student may do for their picture representation. Also notice that I can, at that time, check for accuracy, and also check for neatness. If I'm looking for more information, I may ask a question and that could deduct some points. Or if the student was not neat, for example, this student, they crossed out information but it was accurate, then they most likely will get 1 out of 3 instead of all 3 points. You're looking for the better or best example, which I'll show next. This is a better example. They've got lots of information, good pictures, nothing is crossed out, and most importantly, the information is accurate. The graphic sources can be stick figures. You won't lose points for that. And this is only losing a point and gets 2 out of 3 because they could have included more information on the lines and it could have been easier to read. So take your time and make it neat and as professionally done as our third and final best example, which you'll see right here. This would be the best example. Lots of information on the lines, very vibrant and bright pictures, and it's very neat. If your final timeline looks like this, you can expect a 3 out of 3 on the graphic source, and as long as the information like this student's was accurate, you're going to score the 16 points in the top other portions of the rubric, which you see here. This is the graphic source portion of the rubric, and up here you can earn 8th and 16 for a total of 19 points. I hope this information helps you be successful in your project for your history timeline.